Happy Women's Day. On this special day, we are here to interact with great women achievers who have done exceptionally well in their career. One of them is Nirupama Subramanian, and on this special series, we are here to chat with her on different things. Nirupama is a TEDx speaker. She is author of three books. She is also co-founder of Growing Leadership of Women, and she is founder CEO of Powerful Life. A very happy Women's Day to you.
Thank you to you too, to everybody, I guess, irrespective of whether they are male or female.
Let's start with, why International Women's Day is important for you.
So in the past, and I've written about this, I've always been a little conflicted about Women's Day. Should we celebrate it? Does it make sense to mark it or not? But over the years, especially after I started working in diversity, inclusion, and gender, come to realize that it is an important day. So Women's Day originally started as a day of protest against injustice, against the fact that women were not given proper working conditions, against the fact that women earn less than men, and these are some of the things that continue even today. So I think Women's Day is relevant for three reasons. One, I think it's good to recognize the achievements we have made as women over the years, from a time where women didn't have basic rights to vote, women didn't have rights for higher education, women were marginalized across organizations as well as in politics. We've come a long way. So I think it's a good occasion to recognize our achievements and give ourselves a little pat on the back. So it is a cause for celebration. At the same time, the second reason is I think it should serve as a reminder that we are still a long way off from complete gender equality. So United Nations, I think, has said that it'll take another 280 plus years for gender equality. Women's labor force participation is much lower, and especially in India, it's lower than many other countries. There are very few women in leadership positions, whether it's in corporates or in politics. Crimes against women are actually increasing despite all the laws that have come in place. So we still have a long way to go. So I think that's the second reason why it's a marker, it's a reminder to reflect on how far we have to go. The third reason, I think, is to reinforce the ideals of justice and inclusion and diversity. And that is not just a women's issue. So ideally, I would say we should call it a gender equality issue or a gender balance issue, where it should be a cause for us to reflect on what does equity mean, what does inclusion mean, and what does it mean to really champion or protest or ask for the rights that are due to any individual, irrespective of gender or any of the other reasons. So I think that's also the reason why Women's Day is important, because we get to have the conversations which we might forget the rest of the year about what does progress mean, what does justice mean, what does equality really mean, and how can men and women work together for a world, for a society that is more just and equitable for all. So I think for all of these reasons, it's important. And personally, for me, it's important because this is the area I work in. I have a company called Growing Leadership of Women. So we do a lot of work, not just with women, but for inclusion, specifically supporting women in leadership roles. Personally, again, it's important for me because I run a nonprofit along with my family called My Daughter's Precious, where we support young women from underserved backgrounds to get an education. So that's also related to the work that I do. And a lot of my writing is around gender and such issues, including my last book, which was for women. Also, for me, it's very close to my heart and close to my work because this is the area I work in. Yeah, so 8th March is an interesting day to recognize, reaffirm, remind, and reinforce some of these ideals, which I think are universal.
Nirupama, you spoke about inequality. You are a CEO, you've been a businesswoman for a long time. Um, if you could name one challenge that you faced, probably when you were new to the industry, what would that be? And my second follow-up question would be, how did you overcome that?
Actually, a leadership role was many years ago, in fact, more than 20 years ago. I was helping to set up and lead a training and development organization. And in fact, it was almost like a startup role where I had to set up the office, hire people, run the business, get business, grow the business. So I think I will put it into two categories. One are common challenges, which I think anybody as a leader will face, which is really looking at how do you manage the environment, how do you get growth, how do you recruit and keep people motivated. So I think all of these are leadership challenges, whether you're a male or a female. And as a very young leader thrown into this role of big responsibility, I felt some of those challenges. How do I keep all these balls up in the air? The second, I think, a challenge I faced was when I was, working, and in fact, I was doing pretty well in my career as a leader. I had a profit share in the company. I was a director of the firm as well, and I had a leadership role. The other challenge I faced was when I became a mother, and this is something men typically don't face or don't see a dramatic change in their lives. And I didn't have a support system because I was working in Delhi. I didn't have parents or in-laws at hand. I had to depend upon hired help. And that is where I did feel a challenge in terms of how do I manage and do justice to my role as a mother of a little baby, as well as be the leader I want to be and I need to be in the organization. And especially when I had a crisis situation when my baby daughter fell really sick and I had no help. Of course, my husband was there, and that was supportive. But you need, I think, you need a village sometimes to raise a child, especially if you're a working woman. And in the absence of that, I did go through some struggle where I felt guilty for neglecting my child, guilty for not being the leader and being, doing the kind of work I wanted to do, which was in fact a transition point for me where I had to reevaluate my priorities, relook at my life, and look at how do I define my career going forward, and which is also one of the reasons why I'm very passionate about the work that I do now, which is to support other women to make better choices and to take a leadership role in their own life. So I think, to be a leader of an organization, first you have to make sure you are the CEO of your life, and then hopefully you become a CEO of others. So I think that's what my own life journey and experiences have taught me. Now I see leadership not necessarily as having a positional power of being the CEO of a large organization or having, thousands of people who report into you. Now I see leadership as having personal power. That is, irrespective of your context, are you thinking, feeling, and behaving like a leader? Which I think is extremely important, not just for women, but for anybody else. And that's
Very
how I
rightly
see
said.
leadership.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very rightly said, Nirupama. I mean, career women shouldn't have to choose this or that. So they should ideally be able to do both of everything, um, and enjoy motherhood and enjoy, professional life. One last question: if you had to give some kind of advice to people who are just starting out, young girls or younger generation who just passed out or who've just finished their college and joining the corporate world, what would that be?
I'm always a little wary about giving advice because I believe that, one size doesn't fit all. Everybody has to find their own path. Everybody has to make their own mistakes and realize what's right for them. So if I were to say anything, I would say first, break the barriers here so that you can break the barriers outside. We are very often held back by imaginary fears, by limiting beliefs. We shortchange ourselves. So I think start with self reflection, break your own barriers, think that you are and believe that you are powerful, then you can have power in the outside world. And that is something I believe in my work, and that's what I try to communicate through the work I do, is to claim your own power, live your potential, so that you can have power and enable others to live their potential in the world outside.
Thank you so much, Nirupama, for joining us today. That was Nirupama Subramaniam. Thank you for all for watching.